This is HMS Plim, 1,300 tons, speed 20 knots, complement 140, river-class frigate, at anchor off the Montebello Islands. In number 1 mess deck, she carries an atom bomb, and at this moment she has a complement of 2. Now she has a complement of 1. And now no one will walk her decks again. Ashore from Plym for the last time, leaving her as though she stood off the gates of hell. No cap to raise a cheer, no fond or cursed last look, but away out of the range of her, out of the heat and rays of her. All circuits closed as the final key goes in, starting the firing process, which takes 8.5 minutes. The last 8.5 minutes in the life of Plym.
Minus 8.5 minutes.
Time to remember. Many of those who fought the war and lived remember the warm smell of oil in the wintry sea. Of those, Plym carried 140 men. They'll remember her for what she was then. A little ship that did a job of work. Men lived in her, and because of her survived the violence of the sea and the death beneath. Atlantic, Mediterranean, Pacific.
Minus 7 minutes.
It's enough to remember a ship for the last firm foothold among friends before the barrage and scramble into the face of enemy guns. Remembered afterwards when Plym as a ship of war was laid aside and her decks echoed only to the single steps of watchmen, and life was free and unencompassed by steel walls. Plym was laid aside, perhaps forgotten.
Minus 6 minutes.
But the threat of war was not, and we were still armed. For war had been our history, fighting for plunder, king, for right, for freedom, security of life and thought, for that inheritance of men who by the contrivance of their brains have learnt how to cut the bonds that hold the very substance of the earth together. We were armed with a theory, immense, complex, mathematical, requiring test, experiment, to know that we were in fact armed as we expected, to know over what area we could usurp existence. So a place was chosen. Men were chosen. The ships were chosen. An aircraft carrier, a ship to explode with the bomb. An ordinary ship. Someone remembered Plym.
Minus 5 minutes.
She was refitted, commissioned, manned, and her engine started up again, thrusting her forward at the accustomed speed. Now an important ship, commissioned for a place in Britain's history. Steered, stoked, fed, taking on bread as any little ship, but carrying in her the tubes, casings, ignitions, and active metals of the bomb, the seeds of her own destruction.
-4 minutes.
Plym sailed round the world to unpopulated seas and remote shores, away from the living to a reception party of radar screens and listening posts, to a final anchorage in a flat lagoon.
-3 minutes.
Plym had left the company of her companion ships. She was left by her crew and delivered into the hands of science, connected by 1,000 wires to shore, cables that would carry the last messages, impulses that had peaked at infinity, piped to shore to meters, dials, and cameras. Now all is set, and it's watching and waiting, patrolling, reporting, watching and waiting for weather, conferring and checking, wind in the right direction, humidity right, pressure normal, tides, currents, clouds right.
Very well, we'll fire.
-2 minutes.
The companion ships leave. The carrier, the barges, the supply ship tracker, every man leaves who's finished his job. The Navy remembers its great ships, but until today, few had heard of Plym. She never sank a sub. She'd never even seen one. No record to speak of, no heroic action to remember. But if she goes to Kingdom Come like this, perhaps she'll prove the greatest of them all. Steady on course, going over the horizon, leaving Plym astern. Enmeshed, tied, bound for nowhere.
-1.5 minutes. -55 seconds.
Her complement of 2 have had supper, washed up, slept for a few hours, turned the key from safe to fire, and gone ashore. Now she is alone.
-25, 20, 15, 10. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, now.
From 1,300 tons to nothing. Lost without loss of life. Lost and saving life. For now war is self-destruction. And who will dare attack? Admiralty, London, Plym, oblivion. Repeat, oblivion. Oblivion.